Doctor, you were saying something and you were reading from the sheet. Can I see the sheet or whatever? Would you mind if I look at the sheet, get a copy of the sheet or whatever? Well, what was I saying? I said, you were saying Quirites. He goes, Quirites, what's that? Exactly. You know? And he's like, I don't understand what I said. Well, let me read back to you a little bit of what you were saying, and then you follow along and then try to find it in the body. And you know, I said, blah, 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 Quirites. He goes, oh, yeah, Quirites. Oh, okay, because like he's saying it different. And he points to it right there. And he goes, oh, characteristics. The certain Quirites, and it was characteristics. Totally would have messed that up. You know, so I mean, you have an ability to mark on that machine, so you want to mark it. Anytime you hear something that you don't understand, somebody's surname, proper name, something that you don't understand, a medical term, you know, whatever. And I mean, how do you Google that? And what would have come up? I guarantee it wouldn't have been characteristics, you know. But I mean, because of his accent, you know, and you know, you want to do it as soon as the thing is over. So I mean, you want to mark it, and it's like, you know what? Before he leaves, I need to ask him about that because I don't know what the Quirites is.
He said Google could find anything.
Yeah. Well, not that. You in the front.
What if, before you got the chance to ask him, the attorney asked you to read that back? How would you handle that?
What would that?
Well, I mean, you read back. I mean, you take it down like he said it. You know, and
Would you really say that though? Would you really have said it that way?
Well, I mean, you have to. I mean, because you don't know if it's a medical term that you're not familiar with, but he's saying it the right way, and then you say, well, he meant characteristics. I think he meant characteristics. How you would get that from that, I have no idea. Or maybe you thought he meant characteristics, and you say characteristics, and it's like, no, the procedure was called a Quirite. Okay, now you just messed it up. He was saying it correct. But they'll know. I mean, and the attorneys will know, because a lot of times they have the documents before, you know, they even, you know, take the deposition or whatever. But I guess he was so ingrained with asking the question that he's like, I don't remember that in that, you know, sheet that I went over or whatever. And then I'm asking him questions about, you know, these certain characteristics, and this guy's talking about a Quirite. I don't know.
So you would have read it back saying it like that?
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, you know.
Would you mention that, I mean, you would just read it just like that, and you wouldn't make mention of you not being able to understand what he said?
I mean, I guess you could and say, you know, guys, this is what I heard. I heard Quirite. I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but I mean, you know, the blah, blah, blah of these certain Quirites was headaches, stomach aches, blah, 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 you know. But what if, you know, what if it's a medical term and he's saying it correctly? I know. So I mean, there's trust me, you do this long enough, and you're gonna see all kinds of stuff. You're gonna have all kinds of stuff happen to you. So, you know, it happens. Trust me. So just be prepared. All right. Designation of counsel in court, because someone other than the reporter may transcribe the notes or do the, you know, you may have, you know, somebody, a scopist or whatever. That's why you do the signaling of, you know, what attorney 1 was Mr. Hill, attorney 2 was Mr. Sheffield, attorney 3 was, you know, Mr. Valentine, or blah blah blah. That's why you do it, because, you know, what if they say, you know what, and I sat with the judge just about a week ago, and she's like, you know, Dave, we ready to go? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and present your case. Huh? You know, that's not the way we do it. I mean, we do it, my judge styles the case, whatever. Every judge is different. So it doesn't mean that they're going to announce on the record. So it's your job to get these guys correct on the symbols, and if they don't say their name on the record, then you go back and ask them, whoa, you were number, you know, what was your name? Do you have a card or whatever? And I'm going to need the proper spelling of your name. If you don't have a card, do you have a card? Do you have a card? And then you go back and put it down on exactly who it was, because you don't want to get those things mixed up, because you could really cause some bad stuff to happen. You know, if you mix those attorneys up and they're saying things detrimental to their case, you know, because you have the speaker identifications wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So you want to make sure. A lot of the judges are really good about making everybody announce for the record. So, you know, usually that's the case, but sometimes they don't, you know. Special instructions and comments. This portion of the worksheet is where any special instructions that need to be given to the scopus or the transcript are written. Also to make notes to remind you that an attorney has requested something. Some examples of special instructions might be a notation to this transcript that he needs it completed on a certain day. You know what? I mean, usually we have a 1 week turnaround. Well, you know what? I need it, today's Wednesday, I need it by Friday. So, you know, you have a 2 day turnaround. So that's what you would put on that sheet because you don't want to forget that. You know, when you have 2 other depositions lined up in 2 different places. It's like, oh man, one of those attorneys said that he needed it by Wednesday. Which one was it? That's what these worksheets are for. You put all that information on there. You know, whether they need an ASCII or something like that included. So I mean, stuff like that you would put on there. You know, hey, what they need an ASCII. So when you go into the office, hey, you know what, they need an ASCII of this thing. Plus he needs it by Friday. So it's going to be rush.
So when someone says, I need an ASCII of this, what does that really mean?
It just means a condensed form.
Oh, okay.
An ASCII is a condensed form
like
of
on
it.
a thumb drive or?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Where they have it, where they can plug it into their computer and they can look at it and stuff like that. So yes, it's kind of like a thumb drive, yeah. So, any questions about anything that we've gone over so far? We've covered a lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff tonight. We have just a little bit more to go.
So an ASCII would be a PDF file, right?
Yeah.
So it couldn't be available?
And it could be a condensed form too. It could be just a condensed transcript where they have 4 different pages on 1 page. You know, they want a small little thing because they're going to travel. And you know what? He wants to be able to look at it on the plane and go through this thing and not go through, you know, a transcript that was 150 pages or whatever.
When I worked for an attorney, he always wanted that for traveling because sometimes the pleadings are kind of in these huge volumes in
Yeah.
his office, so he wants the thumb.
Yeah.
through it.
All right. Number of copies and billing, also that goes on the sheet. So just because you take the deposition of somebody, the guy using the deposition usually wants the copy, but you ask him anyway, hey, you know, you're going to want this? Yeah. And you ask the other side, you know, who the guy represents. You know, maybe it's the other guy, hey, are you going to want a copy of? No, I don't need a copy. Because usually the witness gets a copy and then they get to go over that copy. So usually what the attorney does is copy it, you know, so they don't like to pay for a copy. Most guys are pretty cool and they'll, you know, yeah, you know what, I want a copy. I want a copy for myself. Okay.
So who do you ask, the attorney or the client?
Ask the attorneys. Now the client doesn't get the copy or whatever, the attorneys. So I mean, you may be doing a case and there may be 8 attorneys there. And it's a multi-million-dollar oil case or whatever, and there may be 6 or 8 attorneys there. And you ask everybody. Even if he's, you know, it's 2 attorneys together that are working together on the case. Well, this guy's from here, the other one's from Laredo. It's like, hey, you know, are you gonna need a copy? Yeah, I need a copy. I need a copy also. Okay, and you just go down. But you wanna be sure to ask everyone, okay?
It's in the procedure code book because of the laws of equality.
Yeah.
If you ask one, you must also offer the same service to
Offer the
everyone.
same to everybody, okay? Trial stipulations. Stipulations are agreements between counsel and the court as to certain things that occur in the beginning of the trial or during the litigation process. Trial stipulations are different from deposition stipulations in the sense that they can occur at any given moment during the trial itself. They are also different in the sense that a stipulation usually pertains to a witness, an exhibit, or some other form of evidence. Usually trial stipulations can be classified as stipulations of fact or stipulations of evidence. Okay? Pretty self-explanatory. But it kind of goes through stipulation of evidence. Whenever something is is so factual or so obvious that it cannot be disputed, it may be agreed on by the parties that it's a stipulation of fact. Okay? Pretty self-explanatory, guys. You know what? We're going to stipulate to that. We're going to stipulate that he's an expert witness. We don't have to go through all of his credentials of he went to Harvard, then he went to Our Lady of the Lake, and then he did an internship at Santa Rosa, and then blah, 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 and you go on for 30 minutes about, you know, his credentials. Nah. You know what? We'll stipulate he's an expert. He's good to go. You know, and there's kind of an example right there, you know, where the, you know, it's a question answer. You know, please tell us the weather conditions on the day of the accident, December 24th. Well, it was snowing. How much fell? Well, we'll stipulate to the fact that a snow blizzard occurred on that day. You don't need to go through that it was 28 inches of snow. You know, there was a lot that fell that day. We'll stipulate to that it was a lot. Okay? Stipulations of evidence are similar to stipulations of fact, except that they might not be as obvious. An example is a stipulation that the credentials of an expert witness who is about to testify are adequate, and that's just what I was telling you guys, okay? About an expert witness that comes in and he's gonna give his credentials or whatever. You know what, we'll stipulate he's an expert, and then, you know, he can testify as an expert, okay? And that's what that is, stipulations of evidence. Other stipulation of evidence may occur throughout the trial. For example, stipulations may be made in accepting copies of documents rather than their originals. Agreements may be made that certain witnesses will be excused during portions of testimony, or that the parties on both sides may stipulate that a deposition or document may be read into the record. You know what, we'll stipulate that the deposition says what it says and we're okay with it. It'll be admitted as an exhibit or blah, 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 okay? And that's some of the examples right there. Please state your name for the record. He's a doctor, you know. And will you be so kind as to give your education and background? Well, that won't be necessary, Your Honor. I'm quite familiar with the qualifications of this guy, and, you know, I know that he's an expert. He's testified many times before. He's good to go. All right? And that's what stipulations are. It's just agreements. Okay?
Can you go ahead and indent that? I know it doesn't say specifically, but I've noticed in the examples both times they've been indented.
Well, that's colloquy.
Okay.
Colloquy is always indented.
Indented?
Yeah. Okay. Any questions about what we went over so far? Say it, because you know what? They may have the same question.
Well, I was gonna say how you said that we could ask you, like,
Yeah.
we have, okay, so I was reading through the back of the exercise in the chapters,
Yeah.
and there's some good stuff in there, like as far as experience-wise, like what would you do in this
Yeah.
situation? And I was wondering if we can cover that the next time in class, because there's a lot, like right now I have like questions in 7 and 8, but I feel like we just kind of like went through the next chapter.
No, I mean, that's why I asked you at the end of the chapter, ask me. I mean, do you have any questions about what we went over? Ask me, guys, because you know what? These guys may have the same questions. So, I mean, ask me. I mean,
Yeah, but I know.
Yeah, because like some of the thought provokers,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how to answer because I'm not a freelance reporter who wants to not lose the business of one of my favorite clients.
Of what?
It would be
What page?
on page 66 in part B for miscellaneous thought provokers. Number 2, you're the owner of a small freelance agency that employs 3 other reporters. You find out that all 3 reporters for your agency have jobs scheduled. You receive a call from one of your best clients who needs a report that same day. Kind of what do? You as the owner just go ahead and take that job to ensure that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a reporter, probably so. If it's one of your best clients, you're going to make sure that you know, that job is taken, you know, and you don't want to send somebody that maybe, you know, no, you want to send somebody, you know what, I have 3 excellent reporters that work for me and I'll put them on any job. Or you know what, this guy, he's a big client of mine or whatever, I take all of his work, I'm going to take his work. And say as the firm owner, you know, I've already scheduled a deposition for myself, well then I may give it to one of the other reporters. or call another reporting firm and say, hey, look, you know what, I have a smaller deposition to take today. You don't really tell them it's a smaller deposition. It's like, you know what, we have a deposition, and, you know, do you think that you guys can cover it for us?
So take one of your.
You always
reporters,
wanna
move
take
it
your
to the
bigger
best
client.
one, and
Yeah.
then call another firm and ask.
Yeah.
them. Okay.
Yeah. What else?
One of the exercises said that basically the judge likes conservative attire. Can he order a court reporter to wear a black suit because it's more professional?
Yeah, I mean, they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. I mean, it's their courtroom, and you're an employee of that judge, so, yeah. I mean, he could. You know, if you're wearing something too low cut, or you wear
Well, I mean,
skirts are a little tight, or,
you know, in terms of taste and decorum, it's one thing, but a black suit.
yeah.
That
I've
was-
never really heard of it, but I mean, they
I
could.
mean, it was
They can
an
do whatever they
example-
want.
It was an example in the book.
You remember where?
Let's see, was either, I think it was chapter 2 or 3. I'll highlight it next week.
Yeah. And, you know, guys, we have a lot of stuff to cover, so that's why I'm asking you guys to go through and read these chapters and highlight these questions that you have. You know what, I have a question about this. I mean, this is, I think it's kind of important. I mean, would you send another reporter, or would you not? Or, you know, that's kind of important stuff, you know, on what you would do. But, I mean, certain people may do different things, you know. I can tell you what I would do, you know. So, but I mean, don't be scared to ask the question, because more than likely, if you have a question, somebody else might probably have that same question too. Well, you know what? I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know if you just, you know, kind of send somebody else. I mean, whatever. It's your best client. He sends you 50% of your work, and we'll just get somebody else. Probably not. Yeah.
If someone, some kind of figure like your boss or someone were to ask you to change something, I know obviously you tell them no, but do you need to report that to some kind of corporation or somebody so they're aware of the situation?
Like change something in the body of the transcript,
Yes.
or what?
Like just to change something that was said, the attorney or.
They want you to like change something completely to whatever it was that was reported, say, no, you're gonna put this instead. That you're changing the record, basically.
Yeah.
So who would you report it to? You would tell them no, because you did your job, but who
Yeah.
would you go to?
Gosh.
We have to have, I thought we have a state board that's
And we do,
specifically made
we do.
for.
We have a state board, and I mean, we have an ethics board, and the attorneys have an ethics board too. So, I mean, if some attorney asks you, hey, leave that thing out or whatever, no, I can't. Well, you know what, I'm paying you to take the deposition, and this is what I want in there. Well, no, you're taking me to, you're paying me to take down verbatim what was said, and that's what was said. Well, you know what, I'll never use you again. And I'll make sure that, you know, that your name is dirt in this city or whatever. Then you might want to, you definitely want to talk to your employer about it, you know, and tell them, hey, look, you know, I was asked to do this. I told him no. You know, what do you think or whatever? I mean, I'm not going to change it, but I mean, what do you think? Do we need to report it or, you know, whatever? Personally, I mean, I've been doing this 23 years. I've never had anybody do that, but I mean, you never know.
David, on page 7, number 2, it says a certain judge insists that female court reporters wear black dresses in his courtroom. Is he violating their civil rights? And the third question is, a judge for whom you work asked you to change the record in a certain case and make his overruled a sustained. How would you handle a situation? On page 7.
I mean, you can't. I mean, you know, that's a touchy subject, and I don't know that there's a right or wrong, but I mean, it's touchy because, I mean, that's a person that employs you. And it's like, look, I mean, that's part of the record. If you want to go back, get the attorneys, have a hearing or whatever, and we tell the attorneys, hey, you know what, I meant to say sustained here instead of overruled. That's what we need to do. But I mean, just to change the record, I mean, you're talking about your license on the line now, because you're changing stuff. You have to be careful with that.
Now that I can see, it's a lot more clear cut,
Yeah.
but the female reporters to wear a black dress, please. I mean, if he had said
Well,
everybody wear black, then I
yeah.
wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he wants you to wear black, you don't have a problem with it,
Black?
then wear black. But I mean, I've never heard of that happening, but I mean, like we had one of our DAs who used to wear sandals, and the judge kicked her out. Not my judge, but the other judge kicked her out of the court and put her in our court. And we had to change out one of our DAs because she used to wear sandals all the time, and he told her not to, and she kept doing it. So, yeah. One, it wasn't proper by her. Wearing sandals to court? No. But she kept doing it, and he talked to the main DA and said, I don't want her in here anymore. I asked her not to do it. She's still doing it. Get her out. So that, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Guys, go through that miscellaneous stuff and whatever. I mean, go through the exercises and whatnot, because a lot of this stuff is important, okay? And I don't want you to think that it's not important. It's just that I want to cover the major basis of what we're trying to get through in this class, okay? So don't think that I think that it's not important. It is important. And some of these questions are important. That is important stuff, what you would do, okay?
I mean, if he wants you to wear a black dress, and you say, well, hey, you want to throw a little bit more in the paycheck, and
Yeah.
get your black dress.
That too.
Okay.
Also next week, guys, very, very important to be here next week, okay? Whitney Alden is going to be here next week, and she's going to talk about CART. And it's going to be a long class because I think we're covering like 6 chapters or 7 chapters. So I told her to go over the chapters, pick out what she thinks is most important, and then we're going to talk about that stuff. So read through those chapters, and if you have questions about the captioning, she's the person to ask. So she may skip over something and think, well, maybe that's not as important or whatever, but you do, highlight those questions. Highlight or write down the questions on a sheet and have them ready for her, which is what you should do for me every week too. Well, I have a question about this. I mean, I read through this and you didn't cover it. I kind of thought that it was important. Maybe I didn't think it was as important. Not that it's not important, but not that it wasn't as important. Write those things down, okay?
What chapters are we supposed to read?
It's 22. I need you guys to read chapters 24 through 29.
Okay.
Read chapters 24 through 29. Got it?
Yes.
If you have any questions, text me, call me, whatever, email me. But that's what I need. All right? We'll see you guys next week.